So what's up, everybody? Let's talk about the latest on Bryan Kohberger. So the judge ruled on the motion to suppress. He ruled that Bryan Kohberger does not have a reasonable expectation of privacy in his DNA if it's left at a crime scene. Not a real big surprise there, to be honest with you. But there was a ruling. Some other interesting things are Bryan Kohberger's mental health records were turned over to the prosecution. I'm not sure if the defense got a hold of the records and handed them over, or the prosecution sought them out. Mental health records aren't always relevant in a criminal proceeding. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. My guess is the mental health records were brought into play, and the defense specifically wants them because it's a death penalty case. So death penalty cases, there's two phases. In the state of Idaho, there's the guilt phase. So a jury is going to be impaneled, and they're going to hear all the evidence, and they're going to decide whether or not Bryan Kohberger is guilty or not guilty. In the event that he is found not guilty, there's no other reason to have any other phase, because he would then be exonerated and he's free to go. In the event that he is found guilty by a jury, then what would happen is you would go to the sentencing phase, or the death phase. And at that time, mitigation evidence is presented by the defense in order to try to save his life from being put to death by lethal injection. So that's interesting stuff. Ohio's the same way. There is a guilt phase, and then there's a sentencing or death phase. The mental health of Bryan Kohberger would be extremely relevant in a sentencing phase of the death penalty, especially if he had ongoing issues as a child, if he was bullied, if he was abused. I'm not sure what those records say, but that would be the purpose of it. So it's pretty, from a mitigation standpoint, that's pretty standard. I don't know if the reason why it's coming out right now is simply because they're anticipating, in the event that he is found guilty, that they would need all of that information in order to try to save his life or keep him from being put to death. So we'll see what happens. But as I said, the motion to suppress was not granted, so the evidence will come in. So this case will likely proceed to trial, as we've discussed before, and I would imagine Kohberger's defense team is going to present evidence that there was other DNA at the crime scene, and therefore he either was not the killer or somebody else was. So we'll see.